Paris wakes to a scandal. What was meant to be just another adrenaline-fueled urban exploration turns into a citywide mystery when Lucien Moreau, a charismatic live streamer known for navigating forbidden spaces, abruptly disappears during a broadcast from deep within the catacombs. Viewers saw the moment. Lucien's flashlight flickering across skull-lined walls, his breath turning uneven, the stream glitching as a shadow detached itself from the stone. A shape that somehow didn't echo his movements, didn't belong to any angle of light. Then the screen froze, then static, and then nothing. The internet erupts with theories. Some claim he staged it for views, others insist he slipped into an uncharted fissure. But to his sister Élise Moreau, the theories feel insultingly shallow. Élise is not a thrill-seeker like her brother. She lives quietly among manuscripts and dust in the Archives Nationales, where the narrow aisles already test her lifelong claustrophobia. Yet when she watches Lucien's final moments, her chest tightens for a different reason. In the frozen frame, just before the feed dies, the shadow appears wrong. No reflection, no recognizable shape, no connection to Lucien's light source. And for a split second, the glitch distorts Lucien's face into an expression she has never seen on him. Not fear, but recognition. It haunts her more than the disappearance itself. Everyone around her expects her to grieve quietly, to accept that her brother chased one thrill too many. But Élise feels a pressure behind her ribs, a pull in the back of her mind. Like the tunnels themselves are waiting for her to look closer. Something happened to Lucien beneath Paris. Something that didn't come from the world of the living. And Élise knows, without logic, without evidence, that the catacombs have not released him. Not yet. Élise and the recording that speaks back. Deep rewrite. Élise waits until the archives have emptied for the night before she dares to open Lucien's hard drive. The reading room's lamps glow dimly, their amber light pooling over centuries-old documents. But tonight, the only thing she sees is her brother's name on the screen. His final video loads with a soft click. The recording begins normally. Lucien joking with his viewers, the echo of his footsteps bouncing off ancient stone. But Élise is not watching him. She is watching the space behind him. The place where the glitch appeared during the livestream. First, there's nothing. Then the audio dips into a strange distortion, like air being inhaled by something too large to see. A whisper, layered and distant, curls through her headphones. It isn't French. It isn't any language she recognizes. Sounds old, like words carved from stone and dust. But what makes her stomach twist is that the whisper doesn't seem directed at Lucien. Pauses when she leans in, and resumes when she pulls back, as if responding to her presence, as if aware she is watching. Her breath shortens. Claustrophobia rises like a tide. But this is different from her usual panic. This feels like a memory surfacing from somewhere she has never been. When the whisper repeats, Élise suddenly sees a flash, an involuntary image slicing through her mind. A narrow hallway of bones, curving in a way that defies geometry. A place she has never visited. A place she somehow knows. She jerks back from the screen, heart pounding. The video continues, but Élise can no longer focus on Lucien. The shadow behind him flickers again, its outline unstable, as if the camera is struggling to record something not meant for the living eye. Her pulse spikes as she notices something impossible. The shadow moves a second before Lucien does, not following him, anticipating him. Then the whisper deepens, layering into a low, resonant hum that vibrates through her headphones. For a terrifying heartbeat, Élise hears her own name, soft, breathless, spoken like a summons. She rips off the headphones and slams her laptop shut, trembling. But even in the silence of the archive, she swears she can still hear it. Faint, receding, coming from a direction that shouldn't exist. Downward, as if the catacombs themselves are calling her. The descent no one approves of. Deep rewrite. Warnings litter Élise's path like unseen tripwires. Authorities caution against venturing into the catacombs. They speak of collapsed tunnels, unseen drops, and the countless explorers who never returned. Friends plead, colleagues offer reason, and her own mind screams to obey. But the pull in her chest, the same pull she felt when watching Lucien's final video, won't release her. Her heart hammers as she steps into the mouth of the underground maze with a small team of seasoned explorers. Each of them carries heavy flashlights, ropes, and the unshakable air of confidence she envies. She feels conspicuously small among them, swallowed by the narrow, stone-lined corridor that seems older than Paris itself. The walls glisten with dampness, the smell of decay and earth thick enough to taste. Her chest tightens with every step. Panic flickers like candlelight in her mind, whispering that she should turn back. But every instinct telling her to flee is drowned by another, an urgent, primal need to find Lucien. As they move deeper, the walls seem to close subtly, almost imperceptibly. A slight shift in the stones underfoot, the sensation of the tunnel narrowing. The team doesn't notice, Élise does. A cold realization prickles her spine. The catacombs are aware of them. The stones themselves are watching, listening. Suddenly, behind them, a faint, almost inaudible click echoes through the tunnel. She spins, but the corridor is empty. Her flashlight sweeps over the walls, illuminating rows of skulls that seem to tilt subtly toward her, as if greeting her arrival. She swallows hard, gripping her flashlight tighter, the beam trembling as her pulse races. And then it happens. A soft shift of stone behind them. A slow, deliberate movement that seals the entrance they came through. The explorers glance back in alarm, shouting questions, but no one can budge the wall. Solid, unmoving, intentional. Panic strikes, a cold wave threatening to drown reason. Élise feels her breathing tighten as the team mutters reassurances that don't convince even them. The catacombs are no longer just a labyrinth of bones and tunnels. They are a living presence, and with this first subtle act, they have made it clear. There is no retreat. Élise's hands tremble, but her resolve hardens. If the catacombs have closed behind them, there is only forward. And she will go forward, into whatever waits, to find her brother, or lose herself trying. Signs the catacombs are alive, deep rewrite. The deeper they move into the catacombs, the more the walls seem to breathe. At first, it is subtle, a faint creak or a whisper of movement in the stone. But soon it becomes impossible to ignore. Corridors rearrange themselves in ways that defy logic. A passage that existed a moment ago vanishes, replaced by a narrow shaft lined with skulls that weren't there before. Élise clutches her flashlight like a lifeline, its beam cutting through the darkness, but doing little to calm her racing mind. Footsteps echo behind them, always just out of sync. When the team stops, the echoes continue, deliberate, mocking. She senses a presence that isn't human, something patient, watching, guiding, or testing them. Skeletons, once inert in their ossuary alcoves, now seem to shift subtly in the corners of her vision. A femur leans slightly toward her. A skull tilts, eyes hollow yet oddly knowing. She blinks, and they are back in place as if nothing moved at all. Her pulse spikes. Then she hears it, Lucien's voice. At first, faint, almost like a distant memory. Then louder, echoing through the tunnels, switching from pleading to commanding. Élise! Her skin crawls. She calls his name back, but only silence answers. Yet the sound continues, omnipresent, coming from every direction at once. It is him, and yet not. The voice carries a strange timbre now, almost layered, as if multiple versions of him are calling, fragmented by the stone itself. The explorers whisper nervously among themselves, their bravado faltering. Maps, compasses, and ropes seem useless here. The catacombs are no longer simply a maze. They are aware of them, reacting to their presence, shifting to confuse and separate them. Every shadow seems intentional, every echo calculated. Élise realizes with a shiver that the labyrinth is not inert. It is alive, thinking, remembering, and perhaps hungering. And somewhere deep in the bones, her brother's presence lingers. Trapped, calling, altered. The first true test of the catacombs has begun. And Élise knows that surviving it will require more than courage. It will demand an instinct she has never needed before, to listen to the tunnels themselves. The forbidden map of the dead deep rewrite. As the team ventures deeper, the tunnels begin to twist unnaturally. converging into narrow alcoves that seem carved for secrets rather than passage. Élise notices faint markings along the walls, symbols half erased by time, barely perceptible scratches that almost feel like instructions. Her pulse quickens as she realizes these markings are not on any official map of the catacombs. Eventually, they stumble into a hidden chamber, obscured behind a false wall of limestone. The air here is different. Colder, heavier, tinged with the musty perfume of centuries-old parchment and something else. Something faintly metallic, like rusted iron. Torches mounted along the walls illuminate stacks of 17th-century manuscripts, fragile and brittle, their ink darkened but still legible. Élise approaches one trembling, careful not to disturb the delicate pages. The manuscripts are written in the spidery hand of a religious order long thought lost to history. They describe a brotherhood of monks who believed the catacombs were not merely a resting place for the dead, but a gateway between worlds, a threshold where the living could interact with the departed under strict ritual. She reads, fascinated and horrified, "The chosen must walk the stone in silence, guided only by the voice that dwells within. To linger is to become one with the passage, to return to the fold of the eternal." The texts are more than historical. They are instructions, warnings, and prophecies. Each page is filled with diagrams of ossuary chambers, intricate symbols carved into bone, and ritualistic markings suggesting the tunnels themselves were shaped to contain consciousness, to capture it. Élise's breath catches as she realizes the implication. Explorers who vanish in the catacombs are not lost randomly. They may have been drawn deliberately to these chambers. The tunnels themselves seem to select who enters, and the monks' writings hint at a terrifying purpose: to return the living to the stone, to integrate them into the labyrinth's memory. A sudden shift of air brushes her face, cold and deliberate. The manuscripts tremble slightly, as if acknowledging her understanding. And somewhere deeper, the faintest echo of her brother's voice reaches her. A single word, soft, insistent. Élise. The catacombs are speaking to her now, not just through the manuscripts, but through the tunnels themselves. And the knowledge in these forbidden texts is both a guide and a warning. Every step forward is no longer just exploration. It is a negotiation with a sentient, ancient labyrinth. One by one, the living disappear deep rewrite. The deeper they go, the more the catacombs seem to consume space itself. Corridors twist like living veins, walls narrowing and widening as if breathing. The team's footsteps echo unevenly, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind, until even the experienced explorers begin to whisper nervously to one another. It starts subtly. A rope pulled taut vanishes into darkness. A voice whispers a name, someone's name, but the person it calls is already beside you. Then a shadow detaches itself from the corner of vision, moving along a wall where no passage exists. One by one, Élise's companions begin to vanish. At first, it's small. An explorer distracted by a voice calling from an alcove, leaving behind only the soft echo of panic. She tries to call them back, but the tunnels swallow her words. Each disappearance is sudden yet deliberate, as if the labyrinth is aware of who should stay and who should not. Some are lured by the whispers of long-dead loved ones, their names carried on voices that only they can hear. Others are swallowed entirely by corridors that shift while they walk, walls stretching impossibly, turning familiar passages into traps. Shadows flicker across the walls, reflecting movements that never match the living. Élise remains untouched, but not unshaken. Every instinct screams to flee, but the pull deeper into the labyrinth grows stronger. The walls seem to part for her, guiding her with rhythmic whispers that brush against her mind like fingers through fog. The catacombs are learning her pattern, measuring her fear, her courage, her hesitation. She catches glimpses of Lucien in the darkness. At first a fleeting shadow, then the faint shimmer of movement just beyond the reach of her flashlight. He seems to beckon her forward, but his figure is fragmented, distorted by the twisting corridors. With each companion lost, Élise feels both relief and horror. Relief that she alone remains, horror at the inevitability she begins to understand. The catacombs are selective, patient, and deliberate. They do not merely haunt, they claim. Every step she takes resonates with the echo of those who have already been absorbed. And in the deepest recesses of her mind, she hears the faintest, unmistakable whisper. Élise, come closer. The labyrinth has begun its true test. And Élise knows, with icy certainty, that she is no longer walking through tunnels. She is walking into the will of the catacombs itself. The brother who is not the same deep rewrite. Élise stumbles into a vast ossuary chamber, her flashlight barely piercing the darkness. The smell of bone dust and decay hangs thick in the air, mingling with something sharper, metallic, almost like blood long dried into stone. Her breath catches as her eyes fall on a figure at the center of the room. It is Lucien, but he is not the brother she knew. His eyes are vacant, unfocused, like windows into a world she cannot enter. His skin, pale and chalky, is etched with strange symbols, carved delicately yet purposefully into bone dust paste that clings to him like a second skin. They form shapes she doesn't understand, twisting across his arms and face, a living map of some ancient, incomprehensible order. Lucien raises a hand slowly, and the sound of shifting bones seems to echo from the walls themselves. His voice comes, hollow, layered, almost chanting. The catacombs don't haunt the living. They replace them. Élise freezes. The words hang in the air, sinking into her chest like a stone. Replacement. Not death. Not disappearance. Replacement. He steps closer, each movement deliberate, and she sees it. The subtle rhythm in his motions, the unnatural grace that suggests the labyrinth itself guides him. His gaze meets hers, vacant but terrifyingly aware, as if the catacombs are speaking through him. I've become part of it, he murmurs, voice trembling yet steady. The tunnels, they hunger, they remember, they want you. Her stomach churns. Panic rises, clawing at her throat. She wants to reach for him, to pull him back. But the figure before her is not her brother. Lucien has become an emissary of the labyrinth, a warning carved in flesh and bone dust. The ossuary seems to close around her, skulls tilting slightly, shadows pooling at impossible angles. Whispers begin to echo, faint but growing louder, a chorus of voices that belong to the missing. Her companions, perhaps, or something far older. Élise realizes with a shiver that the catacombs are no longer simply a location. They are a sentient presence, and Lucien is its messenger. Its first proof of what happens to those who linger too long. Her heartbeat pounds, her flashlight trembles, but she forces herself to stay. She must understand. She must survive. And above all, she must find the truth, even if it means facing the brother who is no longer her brother. The sentient labyrinth reveals its nature, deep rewrite. Élise stumbles backward from Lucien, her flashlight trembling as the ossuary seems to breathe around her. Every shadow stretches and folds unnaturally, walls shifting subtly, guiding her gaze and her steps. The whispers rise into a chorus, faint at first, then louder, overlapping voices that are not entirely human, layered with memory, fear, and longing. Lucien moves beside her, slow and deliberate, his voice hauntingly calm. Élise, do you see it now? The catacombs. They're not just stone. They are alive. Every explorer lost, every life swallowed. They become part of the labyrinth's memory. Its walls, its skulls, they remember us. They feed on our fear, our identity, our very essence. Élise's mind reels. The corridors she had thought confusing now feel like deliberate channels, veins of a living entity. She remembers the shifting walls, the whispers that only called her name. The catacombs were not merely guiding or punishing. They were selecting, shaping, and absorbing. A chill runs down her spine as she realizes a horrifying truth. The labyrinth does not merely trap bodies. It claims consciousness, merging thought and memory into the living stone and bone around her. Every sound, every flicker of movement, even the shadows themselves, are echoes of those who have been consumed. Lucien's eyes, empty yet lucid, meet hers. I am no longer just me. he says, voice tremulous. I am part of it, and the more you walk through its tunnels, the more you awaken it. The catacombs know you, Élise. They have been waiting. As he speaks, the walls seem to pulse in time with her heartbeat. Floorboards creak, though no wood exists. Corridors elongate unnaturally, twisting in ways that defy geometry. Every instinct screams to flee, but she senses the labyrinth watching her every hesitation, learning, feeding, testing. Élise understands the cruelest part. Survival is not guaranteed by speed or courage. The labyrinth is patient. It does not kill. It transforms, assimilates, and remembers. And with each step she takes, each corridor she navigates, the catacombs awaken further, subtly guiding her closer to an unknown purpose she cannot yet comprehend. The whispers coil around her mind like smoke. A single thought pierces through the growing terror. The catacombs are not done with her. They never will be. And somewhere deep in the labyrinth, Lucien's fragmented voice calls again. You cannot turn back now. They are waiting for you. The shocking truth of Élise's birth deep rewrite. The catacombs are whispering louder now, their voices wrapping around her mind like a living fog. Every corridor pulses with purpose. Every skull seems to watch. Every shadow stretches toward her. Lucien stumbles beside her, still etched in bone dust symbols, still haunted by the labyrinth's hunger. Élise, he says, voice trembling yet insistent. You have to leave. This place, it doesn't just take. It claims. But the pull she feels is undeniable, gentle, almost loving, yet terrifying in its inevitability. The whispers call her name softly, rhythmically, as though the catacombs themselves are alive and waiting for her. She stops, heart pounding, and realizes something she never dared imagine. The voices, the shadows, the tunnels, they are not trying to scare her. They are calling her home. Lucien hesitates, fear flickering in his eyes. Élise, you were born here. The Order, they left you a child of their labyrinth. They thought the catacombs would claim you eventually, and now it wants you. Her head spins. The truth slices through her mind with the force of 1,000 falling stones. The pull, the whispers, the corridors opening just for her, they are not accidents. She was never merely searching for her brother. She was always meant to return. Élise stumbles forward, trying to fight the revelation, but the labyrinth seems to cradle her steps. The whispers wrap around her like a soft embrace, guiding her deeper into the tunnels she now knows she was born to walk. The walls pulse faintly, bones shifting, almost like the corridors themselves are breathing in recognition. Lucien reaches for her, desperation in his hollowed eyes. Do not stay. Fight it. Élise, you can still escape, but she cannot. The labyrinth knows her in ways even she does not. Every heartbeat, every breath, every fragment of memory resonates with its ancient will. She feels herself merging with the rhythm of the catacombs, understanding them in ways no outsider ever could. For the first time, she senses a strange peace beneath the fear. The catacombs are not merely a prison. They are her origin, her inheritance. And in that moment, she realizes the devastating truth. She was never meant to rescue Lucien. She was meant to become part of something far greater, far older, and far darker than herself. The whispers grow softer, almost affectionate, calling her forward, deeper, toward her destiny. Élise steps willingly into the unknown, a child returned to the labyrinth that has been calling her since birth. The new guardian of the gate deep rewrite. Élise walks deeper into the catacombs, each step measured yet inevitable. The walls pulse around her, bones shifting subtly, whispers curling through the corridors like living smoke. She feels the labyrinth embracing her, guiding her, recognizing her. The air hums with a presence older than Paris itself, a consciousness that stretches through centuries of stone and skulls. Her flashlight flickers, struggling against the dense darkness. She pauses, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. Yet instead of fear, a strange clarity settles over her. She is no longer just Lucien Moreau, archivist of dusty manuscripts. She is something else now, a part of the labyrinth's memory, its will, its eternal purpose. A sudden hush falls. Even the echoes of her own breathing seem to vanish. She raises her light, and the beam falls upon a wall of skulls, arranged in patterns that shift ever so slightly, as if watching her. Then it happens. The faintest scraping, a soft carving sound. She steps closer. Etched into the bone dust on the wall, words appear as if written by invisible hands. Élise, guardian of the gate. Her pulse quickens, a mix of awe and dread flooding her senses. The whispers soften, no longer insistent or commanding. They hum gently, like a lullaby for a child returned home. The labyrinth is alive around her, breathing, pulsating, and finally at peace, for it has claimed its new steward. The catacombs fall silent for a heartbeat. Then a soft, distant echo drifts through the tunnels. A faint whisper that reaches toward the surface, carrying an invitation for the next curious soul. Somewhere in the darkness, a presence stirs, waiting patiently, as the labyrinth continues its eternal vigilance. Élise's figure fades into the shadows, no longer bound by fear, no longer an outsider. She has become the living memory of the catacombs, their guardian and their voice. And somewhere, beyond the twisting stone corridors, the city above continues unaware, until the next visitor dares to descend. The tunnels breathe, they wait, they remember, and the whispers begin again.